Hi there. Today we are going to do the first step in making mustard. Now you can make this a grainy mustard, which is what I plan to do, also sometimes called old-fashioned mustard. You could also puree it enough so it's more like a Dijon mustard. It's up to you, and I will put down below all sorts of different variations that you can do. You're starting with mustard seeds or mustard powder, some kind of liquid that can be beer, which is what we're using. We're using an ale, wine or water. You could probably use fruit juice as well. And then you also need a vinegar, and we're going to use apple cider vinegar with the mother in it, but you could use white wine vinegar or red wine vinegar, or I suppose you could use just straight up white vinegar, but I think that's going to be kind of harsh and maybe not going to go in the direction you want.
Doesn't cut the mustard.
Oh, you've just been dying to say that, haven't you?
For 5 minutes now, yeah.
So this is how we start, and then what we're going to do is we're going to mix these ingredients together, and then we're going to let them sit for 8 hours, minimum of 8 hours, and up to 2 days, just sitting on the counter. And the mustard seeds are going to swell as they absorb the moisture from the liquids that you put in there. And then we're going to, after that time has passed, we'll come back and we will blend it, and we'll add a couple of other ingredients, and I'll show you what those are then.
Can we have a pastrami sandwich?
If you want to have a pastrami sandwich, I would actually wait, because even after we blend it, it may need a couple of days to kind of bleach and mellow a little bit before we want to eat it, because it tends to be, when you very first make it, it tends to be a little on the bitter side. How long you let it sit, what happens when it sits is it starts to mellow in terms of the bitterness, but it also, the heat of the mustard starts to ramp up, and then you put it in the fridge to stop it where it's at.
It's also complicated.
Not really. Anyway, but today, all we're doing is mixing the first few ingredients. So what we're doing here is we have yellow mustard seeds and what are called sometimes these are called white mustard seeds, but you can see they're yellow.
They're yellow.
These are sometimes called black mustard seeds, but you can see they're actually brown with a bit of gray almost. Yeah, a bit of purple in there. I'm using equal amounts of both. You can use one or the other, but hey, why not both?
The black ones you use a lot in South Indian cooking.
That's correct. Yeah. And the yellow ones are the ones that are mostly used when making things like
Italian sausage or something like that.
Actually, I was going to say like a North American style mustard. That yellow mustard, that brand name I'm not going to mention, but that yellow mustard, that's made with the yellow mustard seeds as well as turmeric to amp up the yellow flavor, or sorry, color. But like I said, you could use mustard powder if you want. Obviously, you're not going to get a grainy mustard if you do that. You'll get the totally smooth. And personally, because I don't know when this was ground. I bought it pre-ground, right?
In the 70s, I think.
And so it's not going to have the flavor that the seeds are going to have. So then I'm just going to add that 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar and 2 tablespoons of, that happens to be a pale ale, but like I said, it could be wine. I'm just going to give it a stir.
Oh, it's exhausting.
Isn't it? I'm so tired. I need a nap. So I am going to put a lid on it. I'm going to leave it on the counter, and we are going to come back in, I don't know if it's going to be 8 hours or if it's going to be 2 days, but it really doesn't matter. When you see me next in mere moments will be after it's had a chance to sit out, and I'll let you know how long it sat out. Thanks. Hi there, we're back. And it's been 2 days because yesterday we had a bunch of stuff going on, and you know what? This recipe is flexible that way. So it can be, I think I said 8 hours or up to about 2 days, and so we're at the 2-day point.
That's right.
And if you have a look here, you'll see that the mustard seeds, the 2 kinds, have swollen up, and they've absorbed much of the water. There's maybe the liquid. So there's, maybe a little bit of liquid in there, but it's mostly absorbed. And that means that the mustard seeds are going to be softer, easier to blend. And they've taken in the flavor of the beer and the apple cider vinegar. And yeah, so the next thing we're going to do is add a couple of other ingredients and blend it as much as we like. And let's get on with that, okay? Right. So I'm just going to pop all of that.
Colonel Mustard in the library with the stick blender.
Yeah, well, we're in the kitchen, not the library, but otherwise, yes. I'll work with that. All right, so that's all of that in there. The next thing that I'm going to put in is some salt because, you know, hey, everything needs some salt.
Yes.
This is a rounded quarter teaspoon. We're actually making about a cup's worth of mustard here. You can easily double, triple, quadruple this, whatever, for your taste, especially if you're going to make it for gifts or something like that, and it makes a really nice gift. You can totally do that with this recipe, but we're only making about a cup here. So this is a rounded quarter teaspoon, which means it's more than a regular quarter teaspoon, but it's less than, say, half a teaspoon. So in that goes
kosher salt, of course.
Kosher salt or sea salt.
Right.
You want non-additive salt here. You don't want to be putting iodine and stuff in there. It's absolutely unnecessary. Now I am putting in half a teaspoon of brown sugar here. You want a sweetener here, but you can use honey, you can use maple syrup, but understand that those sweeteners contribute to the flavor. So, hey, honey mustard's an awesome thing. Maple mustard, why not? In this case, I'm going really simple with brown sugar, which gives it a little bit of a, you know, sort of caramel type thing that brown sugar does. But otherwise, it's mostly sweetening, and the sweetening balances out the hot and bitter of the mustard. You can also, at this point, add all sorts of optional things. Do you want to make something more like a ballpark yellow mustard? Add some turmeric. If you want something with a little bit of spice, why not a bit of allspice in there? How about some herbs? You could put in tarragon would be lovely, thyme would be really nice. So this is where you could add chilies, you could add horseradish, ginger. It's up to you to kind of...
So what I'm getting is pretty much anything you could stick in there.
Well, if you think it would taste good as a mustard, why not try it,
Yeah,
right?
it's
This
easy
has
and
not
cheap.
taken a lot of time, and nor is it expensive.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, you know, we've used both kinds of mustard seeds here. You could only use one if you wanted to. Like if you were making a ballpark mustard, I would go more for just the yellow ones and not the brown ones, and then add the turmeric and maybe add a little more sweetener. That's up to you. You can do it to taste, but this is what we're starting with. Now, the next bit is to blend it, and I've done this in a food processor. I've done it with a handy dandy stick blender, and I've done it in the Magic Bullet. So you can kind of use whatever you've got. What some people do is if they want it to be a grainy mustard after you've blended, is they take out some of,
Right.
they don't blend all of it, and then they add that back. What I do is I just blend less, and that gives me some chunky and some smooth. If you're making something that's more like a Dijon mustard, just blitz the hell out of it until it's completely smooth. So, going in.
That's working.
Certainly is. And it smells amazing. Okay, I'm going to stop it there because I kind of like the way that looks. Now have a look in there. You can see that some of it has that creamy Dijon kind of look to it.
Yes.
And then you've also got some of the grainy stuff in there as well. So the next step, I'm going to pour it back into the jar here.
And then we get some pastrami.
Not quite yet,
Oh,
because there is one more step to this.
oh no.
No,
Denied.
It's all good. So here's the thing. You want to leave this mustard on the counter with a lid on it for a couple of days. Now, why is that?
Why is that?
So when you first blend it, if you like the taste of it right away, pop it in the fridge. Because putting it in the fridge slows down any kind of chemical action happening there with the beer. It's like a fermenty thing, but also what happens with the mustard seed once it's been broken open. So a lot of people find that it's a bit bitter when you first blend it. So leaving it to sit on the counter mellows out the bitterness. But at the same time, it also, the longer you leave it on the counter, the hotter it gets as that chemical enzyme with mustard seed does its mojo magic. So it's up to you to taste it as you go along. Like, taste it now. Do you like it? Put it in the fridge. You're not entirely sure? Leave it on the counter for a day, taste it tomorrow. Not entirely sure you like that? Leave it for 2 more days.
I think we get it.
Right? And then pop it in the fridge to stop it at that perfect point where you're happy. And once it's in the fridge, it's going to last a really long time. Mustard doesn't really...
Custom mustard is what we're making here.
We are. You
Custom
can make it however you want to make it, and you don't need to go out and buy. You know, if you keep dried mustard seeds in a drawer somewhere, you don't ever have to go buy mustard.
And we can get those in bulk at the Punjab market or Southeast Asian kind of grocery.
We do for the brown ones.
Yeah.
The yellow ones we tend to get at a place on Kingsway in Vancouver called Famous Foods. But you can get yellow
Bulk.
mustard seed
Yeah.
at bulk stores or wherever. Get a bag of it. Keep it in a drawer or in your freezer even. And then you could have mustard whenever you want, really, as long as you plan a few days in ahead. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you're going to try making your own mustard and maybe giving it out as gifts this year.